Have you ever heard of the phrase moved from grace to grass before? It is used when someone who used to have a lot of good things like money, respect, position, or a big house, but then lost everything and became poor or struggled a lot. It is like a king who once lived in a beautiful palace but now has to sleep outside on the ground. Today, I will be telling you the unfortunate story of a queen that moved from grace to grass in one day. So don't go anywhere. Stay right there with me till the end. Hi everyone, welcome again to this channel where I share with you Bible stories, parables, principles, characters, and lessons. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you're coming across this channel for the first time, you're welcome. Today's story is the sad story of Queen Vashti in the Bible, who moved from grace to grass all in one day. So story. Once upon a time, there lived a king called King Xerxes or King Ahasuerus. This king ruled over 127 territories in his kingdom, and his palace, his royal throne, was in the fort of Shusha. In the third year of his rule, King Xerxes gave a banquet, like a feast for all his nobles and officials, the military leaders, the princes, and all the nobles of the territories that he ruled over were all present at this feast. Every day for 180 days, full 180 days, he showed his guests the great wealth of his kingdom and how glorious his kingdom was. When these 180 days were over, King Xerxes gave another feast that lasted 7 days in the garden of his palace. But this time, it was not just for the nobles or the elites, but for all people who lived in the fort of Shusha. Everyone, from the least important person to the most important person, they were all invited. The garden was beautifully decorated, to royal standard. Royal wine was served in different gold cups. There was plenty of wine. The king commanded that everyone should be allowed to drink as much or as little as they wished. He directed all his servants to give his guests what they asked for. Of course, where there is a king, there is usually a queen. So King Xerxes had a queen named Vashti. While the 7 days feast was going on in the king's courtyard, Queen Vashti also gave a feast in the royal palace, but only women were invited. So that was how the king's feast continued for 7 days. On the 7th day of the feast, King Xerxes was in a good mood. He was in high spirit because he had drunk a lot of wine. So he gave a command to the 7 officials who served him that they should go and bring Queen Vashti to him. He wanted her to come wearing a royal crown and show off her beauty to the people and the nobles because she was lovely to look at. When the king's officials told Queen Vashti what the king had ordered her to do, you know what she did? She refused to come. So the king became very, very angry. It was the king's practice to ask for advice about matters of the law and fairness from wise men that were closest to him. So King Xerxes asked the wise men, what should I do to Queen Vashti? She hasn't obeyed my command when my officials told her what I ordered her to do. Then one of the wise men responded to the king and the nobles. He said, Queen Vashti has done what is wrong, but she didn't do it only against King Xerxes. She did it also against all the nobles. She did it against the people in all the territories. That all the women will hear about what the queen has done, then they won't respect their husbands. They will say, even King Xerxes commanded Queen Vashti to be brought to her, but she wouldn't come. The leading women in the kingdom who have heard about the queen's action will act in the same way. They will disobey all your nobles just as she disobeyed you. They won't have any respect for their husbands. So if it pleases the king, he should send out a royal order that should be written down in their laws and can never be changed. The royal order is that Vashti can never see the king again. Also, her position as queen should be given to someone who is better than she is. And that the king's order should be announced all through the entire kingdom. Then all women will have respect for their husbands, from the least important to the most important. So at the end of his advice, the king and the nobles were pleased with the advice. So the king did all that has been suggested. The king sent messages out to every kingdom, to every nation in its own language, and the message announced that every man should rule over their own family. And that was how Vashti was removed from her position as queen. And that brings us to the end of today's story. So we'll go right into the lessons. But before I do that, Have you subscribed to this channel? If you have not, what are you waiting for? This channel is loaded with content specially curated for children, from Bible readings, memory verses, hero of the week, to Bible stories and lessons that children can relate with. So click the subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up so that YouTube can recommend this video to as many people that needs to hear it. Also, drop your own lessons in the comment section below so that others can learn from you as well. So let's go right into the lessons from today's story. The first lesson is that wine is not good. The king was not in his right frame of mind to weigh any advice that was given to him at that time, so much that he was advised that the order should be one that cannot be changed. So even when he came back to his senses, there was nothing he could do about it. That was why the Bible advised that we should not take wine, that is, wine is not good. The second lesson is that we should be careful of how we confront, challenge, or disagree with constituted authority, whether at home, in school, at work, or in the country. Sometimes our leaders, our teachers, people that are in places of authority over us, sometimes they can be wrong and there is a need to correct them or disagree with them, but we should be respectful and avoid being rude. Open confrontation is usually perceived as rude. Like in today's story, Queen Vashti could have found more discreet and respectful way of telling the king why she cannot come as ordered, rather than just plainly and openly saying no to the king's command. So when we are trying to lay our concerns, objections, or disagreements to our leaders, teachers, or parents, let's be respectful. And the last lesson is that no one is indispensable. What does that mean? It means that anyone can be replaced. There will always be a better replacement. So no matter the position or height that you have attained, conduct yourself well. In the morning of the 7th day of the feast, who will have thought that Queen Vashti will no longer be queen by the end of the day? In fact, the advice was that her position as queen should be given to someone who is better than she is. So always make sure that you conduct yourself very well. And that brings us to the end of today's stories and lessons. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop the lessons you've learned from today's story in the comment section below. Until I come your way again, bye.